Hello and welcome to another episode of my book club, and today I'm wearing this Oakley. Wow, Rich brought it back from Sunglass Hut and I was like, ooh, how to look extra douche. But you can see exactly everything that's opposite me, including my Zhiyun light, not sponsored. So actually that one is sponsored, but this video is not sponsored. So okay, let's just talk about what we are here today for. So I started this book club because my wife Rochelle doesn't like to read, and there's so much wisdom to be gained from books, and I just decided one day that hey, she watched so much YouTube, right? So I'm just gonna make all these book reviews and content and all my takeaways so that she cannot have any other excuse not to watch them and learn from them. Okay, I should just stop wearing these glasses. Let me find somewhere to put it. So today our book is gonna be, drumroll, To Sell is Human by Daniel H. Pink. So To Sell is Human is basically a book about sales. So I actually picked up this book because I'm actually trying to kind of like get myself into sales. It's always been something that I'm very scared to do. Like I look at all the insurance and property agents and all the salespeople out there, and I really don't know how they do it. And when I'm speaking to my mentor, he was saying, hey, you need to learn to go and hunt. So I was thinking, okay, while I learn how to hunt, I have to read some books as well. And I looked at like what are the top sellers in sales books. One of the top sellers, which I will review probably soon, is The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. One of the other greatest sales books out there is this book, which is To Sell is Human. So this book is kind of like built on a new paradigm of like sales, but as technology improves and information is really all out there, like you can Google anything you want and you can do your own research. So what Daniel says is that the traditional sales method of always be closing is kind of outdated now because of this information parity, right? Previously, the buyer has so little information and the seller has all the information. So that's this idea in law where we learn called caveat emptor, right? So buyer beware. Now it's the other way around. So what Daniel says is caveat venditor. So it's seller beware. But I wouldn't go so far as to say seller beware, but I think it's harder to make a sale now because there's this information parity in society right now, right? So actually what this actually brings me to is actually something that I've thought about previously, which is that sales is kind of like a dying art, where last time people, when they start businesses, they have like 10 salespeople, even in a small setup. But now marketing is like the big thing. It has digital marketing, traditional marketing, social media marketing, content marketing, events marketing, and marketing is like such a huge area now. And then it seems to be that sales is not as relevant anymore, especially in the e-commerce space. But what Daniel Pink says is that it's not true. There's a lot of sales still to be done within organizations, and even in like B2B sales and in bigger industries, there's always sales to be made. Just that sales takes on a different form now because of this information parity. One point that Daniel made at the start of the book is that everyone, almost everyone, is in sales. Whether you are just an employee trying to get a raise, or even like an employee in a different in an industry that doesn't seem like it has sales, but maybe you are trying to put your point across so that your boss would bring this idea of yours across the table. Whether you're a lawyer arguing your case, whether you're trying to negotiate with people, you're always in sales. So that's what Daniel thinks, that is that everyone is in sales and we all have to learn sales. So instead of the traditional ABC in sales, which is always be closing, Daniel provides 3 points, 3 new ABCs. So A is attunement, B is buoyancy, and C is clarity. So attunement. Attunement means you must always be in a position where you know what your client is in. So whether it's perspectives, feelings, kind of like even doing some strategic mimicry, which actually I learned in this thing called NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming. I think so, NLP, right? So he provides some of these strategies to actually really kind of like make people feel that you are attuned to them and actually be attuned to them, right? To actually know what your client needs are. Because if we're ethical, right, we don't want to be selling things that people don't want, right? So I think it's quite cool about this attunement, right? And I think what Daniel says is quite true. In this age, I think it's no longer about trying to sell people something, but it's about curation. So there's so much information out there. How do you process all this information to make the right decision? So I had a conversation with my friend the other day about sales, and I was telling him, you know what, sales is dead. I don't see how the property or like the insurance industry is gonna last the next 10 years. But actually, as a property agent, he told me that actually what his job is to do, right, is not so much to kind of sell you the property, but is to kind of like see and be attuned to what you feel as a buyer or a seller, right? And to kind of like tell you this is the route that you should take considering all these circumstances, and try to help them do the right decision, because sometimes in certain situations we would choose wrongly and we'll choose something that is actually not so good for our future because of our emotions, right? Because sometimes you just feel like buying the thing that you don't need. Secondly is this idea of buoyancy, kind of like what the Stoics call the stoicism, right? So this is kind of like that never say die attitude of like, even getting rejection after rejection, you still stand up and you still say, okay, I believe in this product, I believe in what I'm selling, and I don't mind if this person rejects me, I'll still go and sell. I think recently I've met this person who really pitched to 60 shareholders to get into his company, right? And I asked him like, how did you do it? And he said like, you know, just don't fear rejection. He said at the first few times it's like sad, but after a while he got used to it, and rejection in itself is kind of like the medicine to actually get over it. So after a while you get confident and used to it, and then he somehow happened to get 60 shareholders in his company as investors. So this is really, really quite something that I really want to learn, because as a person, I'm really scared of rejection, and I've been rejected many times, and a lot of times I just crumble and I break down and I give up. That's what happened to the start of my music career last time, and now I'm trying to learn how to get over rejection and get over setbacks and just keep moving on and keep buoyant. There are two strategies that I find very interesting that Daniel points out. Number one is the positive self-talk while you're doing the thing. For example, when you're doing something that you think is difficult, you kind of like tell yourself, I think I can, I think I can. This kind of like what my dad taught me when I was younger, when I feel like, oh, it's good, the going is tough, and then just tell yourself, I think I can, I think I can. So that's kind of like positive self-talk that really works according to research. And the other thing that really surprised me is this interrogative self-talk. So people would think like, you know, you just need to keep being positive, but apparently that's is not the case. So there's a study that they did, like they get a group of people to do like negative self-talk, right? Okay, maybe not negative, kind of like just nothing. That's the control. Then the middle is the positive self-talk, and then the third one is the interrogative self-talk. So you would think that, okay, the positive self-talk before doing tasks, you would think that these people can actually get a better success rate, right? But actually not. The one that actually has this interrogative self-talk has the highest success rate. And what is this interrogative self-talk? So interrogative self-talk is kind of like when you're doing something and then you kind of look at a, like for example, doing box jumps, right? Because I do CrossFit, right? So you're doing box jumps and then there's the height. Positive self-talk is kind of like, I think I can jump over this, and then you jump, right? But interrogative self-talk is, do I think I can jump over this? So that's kind of like very interesting, because for example, you do a very hard math problem and then you say, do I think I can solve this? And then you get doing it, and then somehow you happen to solve it because you keep asking yourself before you see the problem, right? Like, can I do this? And then somehow it tricks your brain into solving the problem as it goes, rather than just mindless positivity. So that is what I find very interesting, and that's what I I'll try to keep doing in my life. And number 3, which is the C, is clarity, correct? So clarity is about finding the problem and solving it. So in law school, we have this thing called hypotheticals, right? Where there's kind of like a hypothetical situation, and the main thing that the law professors ask us to do is you have to spot the issue, because if you don't spot the issue, you will definitely not get the mark, even though you get the law right, correct? So in the same way, it's like in life, it's about spotting issues, understanding what is the problem that other people face. So when they tell you about their whole grandmother story, you gotta point like, oh, okay, so this is the point here, and this is the point, and all these are the problems to solve. So the people who can find more problems in life are actually better salespeople than those people who can't find as many problems. And finding all these new problems actually provide new opportunities. So in part 3 is kind of like what to do, right? So he gave some ideas for how to build your pitch, how to do a one-word pitch, how to do the Pixar pitch, how to do the elevator pitch, which are all quite interesting. And he also talks about improv. So sales is kind of like improv, right? So you kind of like imagine a situation and then you kind of talk with your friend and just joke about it so that your mind moves really fast. That's really a key thing in sales, which I think I can do quite well, but whether to sell something is separate, right? And I think one thing that Daniel always keeps pointing out in his book is this thing about helping others, serving others, providing value, which I appreciate, which kind of wraps up everything in this book, right? It's about providing value. Value is key. And in a world that information is rampant, it is all about curation. And through this curation, you provide value to your customers, to your client. So I think this book kind of changed my mind about sales. I used to think that sales is kind of like old school, but clearly sales still has a role in society. Like right now, as I'm trying to tell you that sales has a role in society, I'm kind of trying to sell you my idea or Daniel's idea. So here comes the fun part. There are 2 things that I'm gonna do from now on, which is 1, to tell you the difficulty level that I think this book is. And these are the different levels. So there's 1 to 5. And the second meter that we're gonna have is the change my life kind of meter, right? Change my life meter. So these are the 5 levels. So drum roll for the difficulty level. This book is commoner. It kind of like is quite easy to read, and I think there are not very many like very difficult concepts to grasp, and I think Daniel writes in a very layman way, so you kind of like don't need to be like an academic to understand some of the concepts. You'll be very surprised that there are some books that are so convoluted and so difficult that really your brain just yeah. The next thing is the change my life meter. So out of 5, I'll rate this okay lah. Yeah, so what okay lah means. So why I rated it okay lah, which is 3 out of 5. So there are actually a lot of the research and a lot of the findings are actually rehashed from other books that I've read. I think it kind of is relevant, but I think I was hoping for like something new other than the only kind of like new thing that I learned from in terms of concept from this book is the interrogative self-talk. But other than that, like the mimicry and all that, I've read it in like Getting to Yes, possibly Happiness Hypothesis, and yeah, so I think it didn't change my life that much, but I think for people who are new to reading, new to this kind of business literature, I think this is great. This book is great. You get your hands on it. I think it's everywhere where they sell books. You can get it on Audible, you can get it on every other like Kindle and book depository. And I think there are a lot of things that you could learn if you're not super avid reader like me. if I can say so. That comes to the end of this book review. I hope you have learned something from this video. So if you have, you can like and subscribe. And if you have another book that you want me to read, you can write down in the comment section below. And I'll see you in the next book club video, which is coming next week. And we are gonna review something quite interesting. So see you guys.